but it's been some of the stuff that I've been thinking about a lot, particularly since I became an advanced practitioner. So yeah, probably I may end up coming back to Hinduism in general, but Kundalini is kind of this it's almost like a force of creativity, and it's, again, I think, still dealing with some of those basic questions that I'm dealing with in some of these other places, but it's from a different angle. Kundalini is a sort of a it's one of the there's a sort of a, in Hinduism there are kind of these male god type figures and female goddess type figures, and there's a kind of a sexuality aspect to it, and so this is a little hard to talk about because there isn't. It's not like there's a sexual aspect to the work, but there is this thing about kind of combining different energies and coming up with creation. Something that's there again that wasn't there before, and this whole sort of emphasis of this kind of force that when you combine it with, and this is actually an idea that shows up in Kabbalah a lot too, and there's some very good reasons for that. There are actually, a lot of these things are very old religions, and some of these ideas that people have been thinking about for a long period of time, they pass from one culture to another. But there's this kind of interaction between force and form, and and I actually have been thinking about that as a metaphor for the kind of the stuff that I do, about like holding the space, being that container, and then having that sort of that Kundalini force of creativity, which ends up, filling the space, moving off to a different area. It almost seems to me to be that the way that change occurs, again, on a sort of a universal and scientific way, is that it's almost like a lock and key. That you have a sort of a structure, and that you have something that fits it, and the interaction of the structure and what fits it causes change to occur. Like if you think about enzymes, there's there's like a shape that an enzyme will take, and then if it wants to interact with another molecule, its structure is such that it fits very well with that other molecule, and then when those two things combine, something happens. And again, that sort of seems like a sort of a really important metaphor for healing. Of what you're trying to do is you're sort of trying to blend and meld and really meet the person where they are. It's almost like you're sort of molding your energy to fit the other person's energy, and then they have the ability to sort of have that lock and key connection and move off somewhere else that they might not have otherwise gotten. So that's been a really powerful idea for me recently. And the reason I say it's sexual is just because I think sexuality is sort of a special case of this universal tendency of how things happen in the world. So, you can think of it happening with enzymes, and you can think of it happening with cells, that a lot of times cells will interact with each other in that specific way, that there's this kind of lock and key aspect to it. It also happens, in inorganic chemistry. So, the bonding of molecules. I suspect that it happens all the way down. I suspect that it happens in matter. I suspect, matter and energy, and I suspect it happens in subatomic particles. And, obviously I don't know. But I think that you would end up seeing that same kind of structures all the way down. Because one of the things that, again, is that issue of this fractal idea is that there's a certain way that problems are solved by nature, which works across scales. And I think that particular aspect of making things happen by sort of having the perfect fit is a very profound one.